Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Gary Lane. Today, Israel confirming it has taken out the man who is expected to be the next leader of Hezbollah, the latest in a series of Israeli eliminations of enemy leaders, as Israel and Hezbollah keep up their strikes in each other's territory. Here at home, the battle over the swing states in the presidential election. We'll bring you a look at what the candidates are saying, as a growing number of Americans are now voting early, before Election Day. People in the Southeast still recovering from the terrible damage of Hurricane Helene. We'll show you how CBN's Operation Blessing is helping some people get back to work. And a new movie called Exhibiting Forgiveness examines the importance and the power of forgiveness. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin in the Middle East, where sirens sounded in central and northern Israel today, and the Israeli Air Force and drones intercepted 2 UAV drones that crossed into Israeli territorial waters. The latest warfare coming, as Israel confirms, it has taken out the man who is set to be Hezbollah's next leader. And after Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israeli leaders once again about a possible ceasefire. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East for the 11th time since the war began, trying to revive ceasefire talks to free the hostages and end the Gaza war. He may have come at an opportune time. Since IDF soldiers killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar last week, talk of deals is active again.
The death of Sinwar does create an important opportunity to bring the hostages home, to bring the war to an end, and to ensure Israel's security.
The head of the Mossad, Israel's largest intelligence agency, is talking up a comprehensive deal that would end the fighting with Hamas in Gaza, as well as the war with Hezbollah, and free all the hostages. Israel is also considering a smaller deal Egypt is proposing that would free several hostages now in exchange for a 2-week ceasefire in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel is planning its retaliatory strike on Iran after the Islamic nation attacked with 180 ballistic missiles. Hezbollah's recent strike on Benjamin Netanyahu's home is adding to the urgency.
Their attacks with drones, missiles, rockets, their attack on the private home of the Prime Minister, it's all part of a major campaign, which at the end of it all is led and commanded in Tehran.
Israel is now confirming that it eliminated Hashem Safieddine, the Hezbollah official expected to lead the terror group after Hassan Nasrallah's death. The IDF is still taking out Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, which are placed deep within the civilian population. Stunning images show an Israeli missile falling down the side of a building in Beirut before it explodes, bringing the entire structure down. Across Israel, as people are winding up the biblical fall holidays this week, many are remembering the horror of the Hamas attacks just over a year ago and the hostages still in Gaza. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, how significant is the fact that Israel has taken out Hashem Safieddine, who is expected to be the next leader of Hezbollah? How significant is that?
Well, Gary, he was killed in a strike on October 4th and just confirmed that he actually had died in that strike. It hit Hezbollah's underground intelligence headquarters, as Julie said, in the heart of a civilian population. Many of these Hezbollah facilities are in civilian population areas. It really shows you the incredible intelligence on the part of Israel. They know who is where and when they're there, and they have the capability to go hit them almost at any time. So far, there's been 1,500 operatives, many of the leaders killed. Now, he was a cousin of Nasrallah. He wore a black robe, which was a sign he was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. And in that strike on October 14th, other leaders were taken. And so really what Israel has done in the last several weeks, decapitated almost of all Hezbollah leaderships, and leaving many of their soldiers on the ground in southern Lebanon and in Baca Valley and other places, really almost leaderless.
Well, I know a lot of people are still wondering about those millions in that hospital in Beirut. So what have been some of the other significant battles between Israel and Hezbollah in the last few days, Chris?
Well, Israel, Gary, has hit weapons manufacturing sites, storage sites, many of these, as I said, embedded in civilian areas, some near the airport there in Beirut. And what the IDF is doing is warning people to get out of those buildings. The buildings we just saw in Julie's report, they had told people to get out of that one. On the other hand, we have Hezbollah firing rockets against Israel's intelligence unit. It's called the IDF 8200. And as we saw in that report, they actually hit the bedroom of Prime Minister Netanyahu. I just came from a meeting not too far away from here, Gary. Heard many people living in the north. Many are in rocket fire and far below the area of mandatory evacuation. That's about 5 kilometers from the border. And many of those are experiencing, daily rocket fires as far south as Tel Aviv. In terms of some of the action on the ground, there's 5 divisions right now, IDF divisions in southern Lebanon, and making substantial progress against all the infrastructure and many of the fighters there in southern Lebanon.
Chris, is U.S. Secretary of State Blinken still there? I know he's calling for a ceasefire. What kind of reaction is he getting?
Well, he's pushing for that ceasefire, and he's saying, but pushing Israel to say publicly that it's not aiming to besiege northern Gaza. And since after the death of Yahya Sinwar, the U.S. believes it's an opportune time to have a deal, to have a ceasefire, and to release all of the hostages. I think Israel may be open to a limited deal for a short ceasefire while freeing all of the hostages, but I think Israel is pushing back, and it has a resolve to finish its war goals, and I believe that a ceasefire now would be premature before they can defeat Hamas, not allow them to govern, and try to get the return of all the hostages. Same thing up in the north, Gary. Israel wants to finish the job against Hezbollah, free southern Lebanon of Hezbollah's influence and infrastructure, and allow those citizens that have been literally away from their homes and towns and livelihood for more than a year. So this is his 11th visit. He really hasn't been successful 10 times with all of the goals of the White House and the State Department. I'm not sure they're going to see those goals met here on his 11th visit.
Well, while Blinken is there, the FBI here is investigating that leak of Israeli intelligence about an attack on Iran. So what are some intelligence experts saying about this controversy, and what does it mean for the relationship between Israel and the Biden-Harris administration?
Well, Gary, I think what it means is that Israel's not allowing the U.S. military to know its plans. And it seems to me that there's always been good relations on a military-to-military basis. For example, the head of CENTCOM here is here often. But I think Israel is wary of leaks from the Pentagon, from the State Department, and/or the White House. So that puts the U.S. in a position of being in the dark for what Israel is doing, simply because Israel really doesn't trust the administration to keep many of its secrets.
Chris, what's the mood among the Israeli public now during this year's Feast of the Tabernacles and the ongoing warfare with Hezbollah and Hamas?
Well, this is a feast of celebration, Gary, the Feast of Tabernacles, and I think there's a lot of celebrations going on. Families are staying in their sukkahs. We see thousands of people coming here to Jerusalem to pray at the Western Wall. I would say their mood, they're weary of being more than a year at war, but resolute. Tomorrow is what's called Simchat Torah. That's the joy of the Torah. You'll have people dancing and singing in the synagogues and in the streets. And also, I just came from a meeting of the ICEG celebration of the Feast of Tabernacles. 500 people from 54 nations, pilgrims from all over the world, and saying to Israel, you're not alone, and we're standing with you in your hour of need.
Well, Chris, we're standing with you. Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, we're standing with you and our folks there in Jerusalem. Know that many people are praying for you and the staff there in Israel. Thank you, Chris. Coming up here at home, the swing states are where the action is in this presidential election, with both campaigns focusing on gaining enough electoral votes to win the White House and encouraging voters to cast their ballots early. We'll bring you that story when we come back.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are battling for votes in the key swing states, with some polls showing Trump gaining momentum. And in the midst of a close election, people in multiple states, like Wisconsin, are already heading to the polls to cast their ballots. CBN's Michelle London has that story.
Tuesday, dozens of voters stood in line outside Milwaukee's municipal building while waiting for their turn at the polls, while former President Barack Obama and Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz hosted a rally in the capital city of Madison.
Thank you very much.
As Trump rallies in Greensboro, North Carolina, and running mate Vance campaigns outside of Phoenix, Republicans across the dairy state are holding events encouraging voters to cast their ballots for the former president before Election Day. Brian Schimming, Wisconsin Republican Party chairman, says the vote early message from Trump and Republicans this election cycle has been very clear. Schimming is even encouraging absentee ballot drop boxes, a method once opposed by Trump and other GOP members. Back in 2020, Trump lost Wisconsin by just under 21,000 votes, an election that saw unprecedented early and absentee voting during COVID-19. After spending the last 11 days on the campaign trail, Harris is here in Washington for 2 sit-down interviews. While at a town hall the night before in Wisconsin, Harris joined former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
When we think about what is at stake in terms of our democracy, rule of law, the Constitution of the United States, national security, the standing of our country in the context of the world, all of that is at stake.
We're actually leading with Hispanics. That's never happened before.
During a roundtable with Latino men in Miami Tuesday, Trump had a strong message to evangelical supporters.
Christians will not be safe with Kamala Harris as President of the United States. It's not even thinkable.
As Election Day approaches, both Trump and Harris are looking to court Latino voters by highlighting their economic policies, but with 2 vastly different approaches. Michelle London, CBN News.
Speaking of those different approaches, Harris did an interview with the Spanish-language network Telemundo, stating her plans to remove college degree requirements for certain federal government jobs. Well, during his roundtable with Latino men in Miami, Trump made the case that employment, wages, and home ownership actually increased for Latinos during his time in office. Well, still ahead, Hurricane Helene caused widespread devastation throughout the Southeast, and CBN's Operation Blessing has been on the scene to help victims recover, including helping people get back to work. We'll have that story for you right after this. The once thriving River Arts District of Asheville, North Carolina, is now in ruins. Flooding from Hurricane Helene shut down dozens of businesses. CBN's Operation Blessing has been on hand, helping the artists recover their lost creations and get back to work. CBN's Lori Johnson brings us that story.
Helene's floodwaters ripped through the area, affecting 26 galleries where some 300 artists displayed their work.
And, it's gone.
Like Mark Oliver's Foundation Woodworks.
Yeah, it's just been home, this morning. I was driving in and just wanted to hug the building. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever said.
20 craftsmen created and sold their pieces here.
It's amazing to tell somebody that bowl in the front was made in the back. The box in the front was made in the back. You want to meet the maker? They're here.
Now those artisans are out of work. Operation Blessing is helping those woodworkers get back on the job by setting up a temporary space where they can make and sell their goods while their permanent studio and gallery are rebuilt.
It really will give us a chance to help and for them to earn an income, help those families get back to some sense of normalcy. And so that's really what we're aiming to do.
The 8,000 square foot workspace is large enough for all 20 workers to soon resume their profession.
We're going to potentially help them get set up online so they can be doing some e-commerce to get those pieces that they're creating out to the world by for sale that way.
Meanwhile, Operation Blessing workers continue to search through the rubble up and down the district for items that can be salvaged. They also carefully clean pieces they find, like delicate jewelry, hand-carved tables, and paintings caked with mud.
No one was prepared for flooding like this.
Stuart Huff's Sunnyside Trading Company was full of objects he bought from other countries.
And there were probably 40 sets of antique doors in here, mostly teak wood, that I find in India.
Now his massive collection appears ruined.
You know, it's fairly traumatic looking at all of this.
Relief teams are here to help Stuart find any redeemable items while also offering a listening ear.
And the rescue efforts that have been going on here are phenomenal. And I mean, it's very heartwarming how much people care, all the love and blessings that have been offered to us.
Workers and volunteers consider it a labor of love, all in the name of Jesus.
The life and the energy that was there in the River Arch District will be back, and Operation Blessing is going to play a big role in that.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
If you'd like to support Operation Blessing as it helps those hit by Helene and other natural disasters, you can call 1-800-700-7000. Or you can go to Operation Blessing's website at ob.org. Well, coming up, examining the importance of forgiveness. That's the subject of a new film which looks at the difficult relationship between a father and a son. We'll bring you a look when we come back.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
The film Exhibiting Forgiveness is a story of an artist coming face to face with his estranged father and the challenge to forgive. Ephraim Graham talked to actors Andre Holland, who plays the role of the artist Earl, and John Earl Jelks, who plays his estranged father, Laurent. Exhibiting Forgiveness...
I need you to... He has changed.
He ain't changed.
It's just gonna follow us home if you don't deal with it here.
And you guys take us through this father-son journey. From both of you, where did you go to really connect with your character? Was this someone you know? Where'd you go?
Where I went was right so close to home. I mean, I went to my father, I went to his father, and I said, if I can just encompass both of those guys with who I want to be, I think I would probably do all right at portraying Laurent.
Andre, where'd you find Terrell?
Mostly in the script. I mean, the script was written so well, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Titus before shooting. So I got to ask him a bunch of questions about his relationship with his dad, and also just about his art practice. And I think we kind of we found our way into the character through that.
John, would you say your character is a villain or no?
I would definitely say no to that. I don't think that Titus wrote any villains in this. I don't think he may turn Laurent into a villain. I think he really wanted to show that this man was just flawed, maybe like his father was, and his father before his father, and so on. And you know how that thing happens. It gets passed down.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Andre, I heard you say that this role scared you a little bit. Why?
Well, the technical challenge of learning how to paint was a part of it. You know, it's no small thing to just say, okay, in the next 3 months, I'm gonna learn how to do this. It's just not possible, you know? It kind of asks for everything, the part does. And so it frightened me a little bit.
Not the same man you used to know before, Terrell. That's what you said, right? Why are you still making excuses for him?
If you don't forgive others of their past sins, then you can't be forgiven.
What would you say is forgiveness, and how do we get there?
Oh, that's a good question. I really believe that if you can forgive yourself for whatever you think you've done to that other person, you can ask for forgiveness in a truthful way, in a way that you can say, look, I'm still not all the way healed or all the way put together, but I'm looking at the part that I played in this, and so you can help me by just listening.
Faith plays a big role in LaRon's transformation. How important do you think that was for your character and for the film itself?
He grew up in church. Grandmother, mother, everybody was church people that believed in God. And I think that's what really saved him in the end. And when he was going through his toughest parts, his toughest moments of his life, it was his faith that pulls him through.
I would say for Terrell, faith is a little more complicated. Am I correct there? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it is more complicated for him. I think the faith he was taught and his lived experience are incongruent with one another. And I think that fight, that wrestling that we see him do in the movie is something that many people go through.
Real quick, for both of you, what lesson do you take away from this project for yourselves?
I took away that I'm going to be a better father and a better person.
Yeah, my takeaway is, man, I just want to work with great people, continue to work with great people. Because this company of actors and our director, it just created an experience that was so special and so magical.
Exhibiting Forgiveness is in theaters now. Discretion is advised as the film is rated R. Well, be sure to join us for a special edition of Studio 5. We're sitting down with Michaela. She's a recording artist with new music from a younger perspective, but also connects with young and old with real-life experiences. We'll also have a first look at the film Conclave. You can catch the new episode of Studio 5 on the CBN News channel at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Or talk to us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, which is formerly known as Twitter. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.